Welcome back into the Rocc Pod, presented by the Royal Oak, Michigan Chamber of Commerce. I am John Gay from Jag and Detroit Podcasts.
I am Lisa Bibby, your local neighborhood realtor with Keller Williams Advantage.
And today we are once again turning the tables on one of our co-hosts, that is Trish Carruth from Your Personal Jeweler. Trish, are you ready to be in the hot seat today?
I don't know. Feels a little bit weird.
We're ready for you.
Lisa, you want to start with our first question and we'll put her into the hot seat? Have at it.
All right, we'll make this easier on you, girl.
Thank you.
You're a third-generation jeweler. Elaborate a little bit more, and what was your journey in getting to this position?
Well, I got my start in the industry from my grandfather. He owned a jewelry pawn store on the east side of Detroit near downtown Detroit. And as a little girl, I just loved running around and trying on all the gems. And when I got older, I worked at his store temporarily throughout high school. And then throughout college, I wanted to be a wedding planner up until I planned my own wedding and realized absolutely not. But at the time, I was working at another jewelry store, and my husband was just like, why are you putting so much effort into someone else's business and being undervalued when you could do it yourself? Yeah. And that kind of gave me like the motivation that I needed to start my own business. And a lot of people think it's so funny that he's the one who pushed me into it, because being a third generation jeweler, they think that it was just something that naturally fell into my lap. But it was kind of more of like the men in my family, like my granddad, my dad, and my uncle. And there was really no women in the business. And so I didn't even think of it as a plan. And yeah, I decided to kind of combine both my passion for the wedding industry with my passion for fine jewelry and specialize in custom engagement rings.
You always say third generation jeweler, and that was kind of my assumption, Trish, is that it was, from grandparents to parents to you. But your family has been in the business, but you started this business. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I might know something about having a supportive spouse to kind of nudge you into starting and doing your own thing. I can speak from experience on that. It's nice to have, isn't it?
It is.
So you mentioned the custom engagement rings. I know that's kind of your specialty. Tell us a little bit about the process that goes into it and what separates you from the competition, Trish.
Well, I just love. So I thought custom engagement rings kind of just fits with it, right? And most jewelers don't really specialize in custom engagement rings. They want you to pick directly from the showcase. It's easier for them. Mm-hmm. And then the few that do specialize in custom engagement rings don't really specialize in like sentimental details and telling the couple's love story through the ring. So I thought, what better way to do custom engagement rings than to tell the couple's story through the ring?
Oh, cool.
Because I see my pieces of jewelry as like heirloom artworks that are meant to be passed down for generations.
I love that idea about telling a story in a ring. So do you do custom wedding bands?
I do. And a lot of the engagement ring styles nowadays have halos and details that make it difficult for a wedding band to sit flush next to the engagement ring. So the big trend is like curved bands, and finding one that's pre-made that has the perfect fit can be troublesome. So customizing one is a great solution. And then also when it comes to men's wedding rings or more masculine style bands, there are so many different customization options, from traditional metals like gold and platinum to alternative metals like black zirconium and Damascus steel.
Do you sometimes find that folks in the trade industries, Trish, want something that's a little bit less likely to get caught or damaged, people who work with their hands a lot? Do you find that sometimes too?
I do. We also do silicone bands as well.
Okay, so tell me about the design process. I love the idea of telling a couple's story. And then it would be cool to say, this is how my grandparents met. This is how they fell in love. And this ring, it tells that story. So talk us through the design process a little bit.
Yeah, the first step is a consultation where we'll meet and go over different design aspects. If you have a Pinterest board, which I should preface and say too, that a lot of my clients come in together as a couple. So it's not necessarily like this big grand surprise.
Okay.
They come in together to kind of get the process started and then leave like the sentimental details as the surprise element of the ring.
Okay.
So when you come in for a consultation, we'll go over the design aspects and your budget, and we'll combine all the aspects of different rings that you like into one custom ring. And then I'll make a CAD, which is a computer-aided design of what we went over. And you can either request revisions for it, or if you approve it, I'll then print out a wax mold to show you a physical sample of what the piece is going to look like prior to casting.
Is it like a 3D print?
It is a 3D print.
Oh, wow.
I have 2 3D printers. And once that has been approved, the final step is casting and stone setting, which takes on average 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the complexity of the project and our current workload.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I love how 3D printing is like really just broken into pretty much every industry.
Yeah. Taking over everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And you have a wax to evaluate or something on the screen first, as opposed to looking at the actual jewelry after the whole process and saying, could you change that? I didn't like that little stone over there. Could you move that? No, not really.
Trish, can you elaborate a little bit more on some possible myths and or truths that people might have about doing custom design for their engagement and wedding bands?
The biggest myth is that it costs more. While there is more cost in manufacturing a single piece of jewelry versus mass manufacturing it, that's only one of the elements that goes into price. So a lot of these larger chain jewelry stores have huge overhead, and that overhead is then absorbed into the price of the ring. And because I keep my overhead low, I can keep my prices affordable as well. I would say that is the biggest myth, and the biggest truth about custom is that it's just that. It's custom, so it's customizable. If you see a ring that is so far out of your budget, there's so many different ways to customize it and keep the essence of the ring, but while getting it within your price point. Or if you go to a store and you see a ring, they can offer you a small discount, but there's no way to turn a $50,000 ring into a $5,000 ring on sale.
What about the other way? Is it possible that, a couple is just starting out, they don't have a lot of money, they want to design something simple, but with the custom, it's probably not as easy to add to it as you sort of grow and get a little bit more financially stable? Or are there ways to do that?
It depends on the size. So I have a lot of couples who will buy moissanite center stones instead of diamonds, and then plan on upgrading to diamonds later on.
Oh, so you can just upgrade the stone. Okay.
Yeah, so you can get the mounting of your choice. And the largest part of an engagement ring most of the time is the center stone. That's where the biggest part of your budget's going to. But with the emergence of lab-grown diamonds, which I'm pretty sure you guys aren't familiar with, so I'll give you just a little bit of a description of lab-grown diamonds, because what I get the most from people are they real or are they fake? Mm-hmm. And lab-grown diamonds are real. They're the same physically, chemically, and optically, but they're about a half of the price of an earth mine diamond. So the easiest example that I give people is like with ice. You can get ice from your freezer, or you can go outside on a cold Michigan day and see an icicle hanging from your house. They're both ice, but the one in your freezer was man-made and the one outside was made by nature.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, that's a great analogy, too, given that it's ice.
There's an ice joke regarding diamonds in there somewhere, too. But.
Yep.
Nice.
So, Trish, we spent the first few minutes here talking about engagement rings, wedding bands, that sort of thing. What other kind of services and jewelry do you offer your clients?
I offer heirloom reworks. So if you have like a ring or a necklace that was passed down by grandma or grandpa, but you want to make it more modern in your style, we can reuse the metal and reuse the stones and add more to it to make it special and unique to you. And then I also offer jewelry stylists or like jewelry wardrobe refreshes, where we can meet and look at your current fine jewelry and then figure out a plan on building your wardrobe to what you would eventually like it to look like. So if you want more everyday jewelry, we'd start with like hoop earrings and studs, and then more like going out jewelry, a diamond tennis bracelet, stuff like that, and in a way that makes sense for you and your budget.
You've got my brain going with the holidays fast approaching here. My wife's got her engagement ring. She's got her wedding band, but there might be something else that we can come up with for the holidays in 2022. Yes. So I'm glad you do more than that.
Well, here's just a random thought, and you might run with this, but you've got your engagement ring and you've got your wedding ring, and you talked about how people are stepping up financially in their lives as they're getting older. Maybe you can start a new trend where you're stacking rings. So like every 5 years or every year, like you're getting another band, and that band is custom made and like inscribed, and it really announces like a milestone in your relationship.
Honey, if you're listening, stop listening right now.
That is actually a big trend. A lot of the engagement rings now are very thin, dainty bands with just a larger diamond in the center. And I'm seeing a lot of people come in and want to add, every couple of years, new bands to it, or be able to have the ability to swap out. I know my husband gets so tired of me because I design a new engagement ring for myself every year, and I switch them out every day depending on my mood,
right?
And which one matches my outfit the best.
Oh, that's cool.
I was gonna say there's gonna be a trend where people are walking around, their entire ring finger is just gonna be stacked with rings.
Yes.
You can't even bend your finger. Nice. Well, you recently added proposal planning packages. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Well, whenever clients come to pick up their engagement ring, one of the questions that I always ask them is, how are you going to propose? And at least half of the time they have no clue.
Yeah.
And so the inner wedding planner, almost wedding planner in me was like, I have to fix that. And I decided to add proposal planning and do it a couple of different ways. The most budget-friendly option is just customized ideas. So I'll meet with you and you'll tell me your story, and then I'll give you 3 different customizable ideas where all you have to do is execute it and follow my little checklist to the T. And then I also have proposal planning and coordinating service where you just tell me what you think she likes, and I'll do everything from booking the restaurants, the vendors, whatever you're going to use for it. And then the third option is pre-planned proposal packages. So you can do like a downtown rooftop proposal where,
wow.
Yeah, and then add on different elements. So if you want 10 dozen roses spread out and a will you marry me marquee sign in the background and personalized photos of you guys from your relationship from start to now, things like that.
I love that you're combining your former, wedding planning desires into this, and it sounds so perfect for you, Trish. And I also love that you are bailing out us dumb guys that sometimes have really bad ideas. I remember telling my friend when he told me how he was going to propose, I'm like, dude, it's not about you. It's about her. Do it in a venue she wants, not something you want. You'll thank me later. And back to my own proposal 6 years ago, a while, back to my own proposal. I was working as a radio DJ at the time, and Ellen said to me, there will be no stadium billboard. There will be no microphones involved. There will be no crowd. I don't care how you do it, but if you do any of those things, my answer will be no. And I said, okay, honey. And I did it privately at home with the 2 of us, and she said yes. And she's like, see, I wanted to make sure before we got married that if I really felt strongly about something, you'd listen to me. And, well, I've been listening ever since, I'd like to say.
Yes, my own husband needed the help back then, too. We went to the Bahamas when he proposed, and we did scuba diving. And his grand idea was, because he knew that it was all going to be recorded, was to propose while we were diving underwater. He had it like tied around his neck somehow. But this was my first time scuba diving, and I had a complete meltdown, an anxiety attack the whole time. So luckily, he waited until the next day to propose when we were walking on the beach. But
I was going to say, that sounds
I would
like
not
amazing.
have wanted an underwater. No, I would have not. No. You have to know the person.
Yeah.
And that would have not been for me.
Oh, that's so sweet, though. I love that he put so much thought into it, but then also recognized, hey, she needs something different.
Yeah.
And that is my favorite question to ask couples. It's like, what was your engagement story? I want to know all about it. And it's surprising because so many are sweet and they have a really great one. And there's a lot that are kind of like, I don't know. So I love that you're stepping in and providing a platform to really create a memory for them that they can then be very proud of sharing.
Yes.
Our engagement story involved Taco Bell.
Nice. There you go.
Did you have the packet, the Will You Marry Me?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And it did not happen in a Taco Bell. But my wife and I both love Taco Bell. And the jeweler that I use, unfortunately, I did not know Trish at the time. I wish I did. But the jeweler I used was over in like Sterling Heights or something. And it was a Friday. She'd had a really bad day at work. And I'm like, let me just pick up some Taco Bell on the way home. And she said, great. And she said, oh, this Taco Bell tastes a little different. Which Taco Bell did you go to? I was like, oh, it was over by, Maple and Livernois. She's like, what were you doing on that side of I know why you were on that side of town. And so we had a laugh over it. I ended up proposing later that night, and we had some pictures from our Alaskan cruise. and our former dog Brady was the last picture in the deck. I said, hey, look, there's some pictures of the cruise. And the last picture was a picture of Brady with a sign that said, Mom, can I call John Dad now?
Oh.
And then she said yes, because there were no microphones or scoreboards involved.
Oh, that is so cute. You're a good listener.
Trish, what's next for you? You've talked about all these amazing things you're doing. I feel like you've got a million ideas every day. What's next?
I know. I have to slow down a little bit, but I am planning on expanding more to wholesale. Earlier this year, I got the opportunity to exhibit at JCK Las Vegas, which is the biggest industry trade show event that happens every year. And I got to debut my new teal sapphire engagement ring line, which I'm in talks with a few different stores on having my pieces displayed there. And so I realized that I love working with clients one-on-one and getting their input, but being able to have like complete artistic reign and freedom to make a design exactly how I love it is very empowering too. And to be able to just spread my art to more people is something that's near and dear to my heart too. So I am excited to see how wholesaling goes.
Did you only work in Vegas, or were you able to have a little bit of fun too?
Oh, I was able to have fun.
Excellent.
Well, that sounds like an exciting venture.
And also, in terms of being able to spread my art to more people, I have decided to take the leap and open a storefront. My office space has been great, but I am so excited to get more exposure and serve more of the Royal Oak community. We will be located at 302 South Washington Avenue at the Oak the General store right off of Washington and Sherman, and plan on having our grand opening mid-December.
So we're all Royal Oak Chamber members, and we absolutely love this chamber. But I'm curious, Trish, how has the Royal Oak Chamber membership helped you specifically?
I have had a few different chamber members find me on the website and then book appointments for custom designs, as well as being able to go to like the in-person networking events and make connections as well.
And not to mention, you've been co-hosting this incredible podcast for quite some time, too.
The best podcast out there.
Absolutely.
And as a veteran of this podcast, Trish, you know what's coming next. It is our fishbowl question of the day. Lisa, would you please pull the fishbowl question of the day for Trish?
Yes. All right, Trish, you ready for this one?
I am.
Okay. So if there was a talent show, what talent would you be showing off in this modern day talent show?
I feel like I would be so lame to say jewelry making or cat design skills when I'm trying to think of another random talent that I have.
Okay, party trick. You're at a cocktail party. What are you going to do? How about that?
I'm double jointed, so like I can only show you like my fingers and stuff, but like my.
That's a good talent. You guys can't
I freak people out with it. I freak people out. I'll be like pointing to something and they'll be like, oh my God, is your finger broken? Like, no, just double jointed.
Her finger is like all wonky, like the way she just showed us in the podcast. That's
like, I have to try really hard to keep it straight. But like, if I just try to like poke it out.
Her finger literally bent backwards in like two different places.
I feel like I'm watching a football game and somebody just got rolled up on.
My thumb goes flat too, instead of it being like here, like it goes all the way to.
What? You got skills.
With this being an audio-only podcast, you can't see it. So if you want to see it in person, you've got to go see Trish at your personal jeweler and get something set up just in time for the holidays for somebody special in your life. Trish, how do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Personal Jeweler, or my website, www.thepersonaljeweler.com.
Trish, it was so great to have you on here and learn more about your business and that you're double jointed. My name is Lisa Bibby, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Advantage. I put the real back in realtor. The market is shifting, and yet there are still niche markets out there. So curious how much your home is worth now? Give me a call, or you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Sold by Lisa B.
And I am John Gay from Jag in Detroit Podcast. Nobody knows your story better than you. I can help you tell it. To start a podcast or for any questions you have about podcasts, you can find me on social at Jag in Detroit, JAGIN Detroit, or on my website, jagindetroit.com. Thank you, as always, for checking out this episode of the Rocc Pod presented by the Royal Oak, Michigan Chamber of Commerce. For more information about joining the Chamber or how to be on this podcast, you can visit our website at royaloakchamber.com. Thanks, everyone.